discussions about energy efficiency and net positive and, locking in your energy cost by installing solar power, they're pretty privileged conversations. But I want to deliver energy efficiency and the promise of being part of a clean energy future to bigger groups of people that don't necessarily have access, and make it a much more equitable thing.
Welcome to Home Green Homes Podcast. I am Izumi Tanaka, a green home advisor and a green realtor. Here I invite a variety of experts in the world of green homes and have conversations about how we can all live in healthy, resilient, and efficient homes. My guests provide insight in a wide range of topics, from designing, building, and living in green homes, purchasing or financing green homes and improvements, to how we can live to reduce the negative environmental impact from the way we live. My goal is to inspire and inform you about how we can make a difference in our own lives and our environment. Hello, everyone. This is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. Today I have Rich DeCicco of Realty Energy Partners. And this is a very exciting company that I really like to get to know and work with. And Rich is going to explain to us what you guys all do. But let's just hear from you first, Rich, who you are and your little bit of your background, because I think you have a very interesting background.
Oh, all right. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on. It's been great knowing you for the last few months, and I'm excited to do this. So my name is Rich DeCicco. Really quick to get you up to speed to where I am now and how I got here. It was a pretty unexpected route. But I grew up in the New York City area, and I was a musician from a really young age, and that was kind of what I thought I'd be doing forever. And long story short, I did go to school for music and ended up having a really good career in music, writing a lot of music for TV and for film, producing bands, co-writing songs. And that was what I did in New York until 2017, when I moved to LA with my two kids. And my plan was, okay, I'm really going to expand my music career. I'm going to continue to do work in New York, but also open a whole new set of opportunities in LA. And it really didn't go so well. It was kind of a flop, because I just was not able to network the way I used to. And in New York, it's so easy to network. It's so easy to jump from room to room and meet a lot of people. But in LA, you can't really do that as easily. And unless you're plugged in, it's hard to get traction. And it didn't help that I had two young children, so I couldn't really get out and be out all night trying to meet people in the music industry. So I had to pivot, and I had a bit of a background in advertising and marketing, and also in design. And so I decided to start doing that just to get some money coming in. I ended up working with a lot of real estate agents, and fast forward a couple of years, I just went ahead and became a realtor myself. I started with Remax, just mostly working commercial properties, and then switched over to EXP. And very shortly after joining EXP, I made contact with my partners in Realty Energy Partners, and they invited me to be a partner in the company because of my background in marketing, in recruitment, and also in real estate, because what we do is hyper-focused around helping realtors become energy consultants for their communities, and specifically around net zero and net positive driven disciplines and products and offerings. So that's what I've been focused on for the last year and a half, is really building this company. And it's been exciting because I've always been concerned about the environment, but never really thought there was anything I'd have to contribute beyond my own personal practices. And getting to be involved with a company like this, where we're actually making a really broad impact, it's been exciting. It's been a really great experience.
Yeah. So you and I both have something common, that we both were kind of in a creative field before we ended up in real estate.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Hmm. Yeah.
and for the fact that we were both always interested in and concerned about the environmental issues. So
Yeah.
I am very grateful that you guys showed up in our life and doing what you're doing. So let's
Yeah.
hear about this Realty Energy Partners. Um, Tell me
Yes.
exactly what Realty Energy Partners are offering.
Absolutely. So we very basically provide property owners with a green energy assessment for free. And this is residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, nonprofits. We don't limit ourselves to just single family homes. And so we can just remotely from anywhere in the country, really, if we can have an energy bill from a home and a little bit more information about how energy is used, what their heating and cooling situation is like,
Mhm.
the age of the home, the age of the roof, the windows, stuff like that. We can put together a list of suggestions for what that homeowner might be able to do in order to make their home more efficient. And usually the fastball down the middle is, okay, what does solar power look like on this building?
Mhm.
Because with a power bill in our hand, we have a system where we can call up an address, we see the home on Google Maps, the system accounts for where it is in the world and how much sunlight that area gets, and we place panels virtually on the roof, and based on which direction they're facing, the system lets us know how much energy that system is going to create. And so based on their energy bill, we can say, okay, this system is going to account for 102 or 78 or whatever, 50% of your energy usage.
Mhm.
And then from there, we can suggest to them, and this is how much you are likely to save over the lifetime of the system based on installing it. So
Mhm.
we have a nationwide network of installers that make these renovations and these additions like solar when it makes sense for the situation. Like, we don't want to force a solution, on someone when it doesn't make sense. There are a lot of places where solar just isn't a great fit. If a home has too
Mhm.
small of a roof and we can't get enough panels up there, well, then we have to look at other things to just maybe make the structure more efficient.
Right.
So we do manage the entire project from start to finish. We're not just like a matchmaker. We actually
Mhm.
stay in the deal and do permitting and inspections and final commissioning of anything that we bring. And we're able to do all this by training and partnering with locally based real estate professionals like you, most commonly realtors. And we have a realtor focused training that makes them experts about green energy at a pretty accelerated pace.
Mhm.
Usually in a couple of hours, they can be where they need to be in order to start having conversations. And we actually do this at no cost to the agent. And in fact, they make a commission on anything they help us bring in the door. So um, any sales profits on any project that we execute, we split those sales profits 50-50 with the agent.
I see. One of the pet peeves I've had, I'm sure I've mentioned to you, is that there are so many solar power companies out there that I'm sure that most of them are good companies, but some of the marketing tactics that those solar vendors use are
Yeah.
just simply trying to get you to put panels on your roof without even addressing the envelope issues, the efficiency of the house issues. So that's one of the reasons why I was excited when you guys showed up. Like, wow, this, we're not just trying to sell solar panels
Yeah.
to homeowners, but we're trying to really help make the home more efficient altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. And our execution is it's not just about solar panels, right? Because the more
Hmm.
efficient you can make a structure, the less solar you actually end up
Right.
needing, which is
Hmm.
great. And we also don't really need to do direct to consumer marketing the way most solar companies do. And man, I've seen some crazy ads on YouTube.
Hmm.
I actually saved one the other day. The guy was like, "Don't get solar. It's the biggest mistake you can ever make, unless you're in one of these 11 states where the government will buy you solar panels for free." And I don't know what they're basing that on, but it's total BS. Like, there's no
Hmm.
such program. Yes, there's a tax
Hmm.
credit, but you're not going to get it
Hmm.
for free. Um,
Yeah.
and it had all this like apocalyptic, like fast motion clouds and scary like thriller music. It was really an out of body experience. Uh, so, so yeah, because we're working with realtors, we want that we have that trust. The realtors are supposed to be real fiduciaries. They're supposed to be looking out for the best interests of their clients. And
Hmm.
that's not to say that there aren't shady realtors out there. There are, but we seek to work with the ones who actually treat it like a responsibility
Hmm.
to their clients and actually doing what's in their best interest.
hmm I do feel that it's a responsibility to inform and, even educate the homeowners who may not have much idea of what the benefit of having not just the solar, but really to look at the house as a whole system
Yeah.
where you look at the insulation and air leaks and appliances, everything
Right.
work together. And I think then it makes sense to have solar panels on the roof so that you can aspire to be net zero. So let's just focus on the solar just a little bit. So
Yeah.
what do you think is the importance of the solar power and energy efficiency and why the rooftop solar is
Yeah.
needed these days?
Yeah. I can speak specifically to Southern California and California in general, where you and I live.
Mm-hmm,
Um, California recently mandated some very audacious goals
mm-hmm,
for what they're going to do in terms of electric cars. So 2035, you won't be able to buy a car here that is not electric. So
mm-hmm,
we already have issues with our grid not being able to
mm-hmm,
handle, a hot day.
mm-hmm.
And like a couple like that, there was a headline in the LA Times when they talked about this electric car mandate. And then 2 days later, there was another headline that was like, please don't charge your electric cars between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. So it's like, okay, well, which
Yeah,
is it? Um,
yeah.
it's going to be really difficult for California to reach that goal in a practical way that actually exists in the real world without rooftop
Mm-hmm,
solar. Um,
mm-hmm.
because the demand on the grid is only going to grow.
Right.
So, thinking beyond just um, the self-interest of the homeowner, where honestly, in most scenarios, they're going to be saving money if they install
Mm-hmm,
solar in Southern California. They're going to take a big chunk out of their electric bill, um, and lock in their energy cost for 30 years. But for the greater good of California, it's really going to be a necessity.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, we know that there are quite a bit of incentives, such as rebate or tax credit, and that's really hard to keep up with because
Yeah.
it keeps changing, number one, and it's different from state to state, municipality to municipality. So how do you keep up with it? Or maybe I should ask you, are you guys keeping up with all that incentives and rebates and such out there for all the
Yeah.
states that you serve?
Yeah. So at a really high level, everywhere in the US, if you install something that improves the efficiency of a building by more than 30%, it's
Mhm,
eligible for a 30% federal tax credit. So you purchase the items, solar or appliances or whatever, and
mhm,
then we give you a document that you can then hand to your tax professional, who will
mhm,
then be able to deduct that.
mhm.
Um, if 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 the components are U.S. made, so if the system is 60% or more U.S. made components, then that's
Mhm.
a 40% tax credit. And we're working on actually manufacturing solar panels here in the U.S. in order to be able
Wow.
to get that going for people and really kick up the incentive, that extra 10%.
Mhm.
But as far as local stuff, state and local, um, our system actually accounts for that. So
Mhm.
um, as quickly as it can keep up, that will be reflected on a quote that we give.
Mhm.
There are sometimes, things do change quickly and it might not be up to date like week to week.
Mhm.
So, it's important for homeowners to just, do some quick Googling about their area to figure out
Mhm.
actually what's true. But usually we're able to help them out with that.
I see. I see. So there are enough incentives available that would make financial sense for homeowners to take this route of creating a
Yeah.
really energy efficient home, correct?
Yeah. I mean, the federal government, through the Inflation Reduction Act,
Hmm.
um, it was 26% and was supposed to end this year. But then
Yes.
they bumped it up to 30% and it's all the way through 2037.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. And then, I mean, who knows what our governing body will do approaching that deadline.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's
Hmm.
hundreds of billions of dollars set aside for this,
Hmm.
for a nationwide charging, EV charging
Hmm.
network.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so, it's nice to get some good news once in a while, isn't
Yes. Very
it?
true. Very true. Yeah. So tell us some other things that Realty Energy Partners can install or designed for homeowners, other
Yeah.
than we talked about, not just the panels, but insulation appliances. What are the specific ones that you guys can offer?
Yeah. So kind of going from biggest to smallest.
Mm-hmm,
Um, the next the next biggest thing that we can work on to really drive efficiency is your
mm-hmm,
heating and cooling.
mm-hmm,
So very simply, like installing a mini split system, um, and making sure that you have the most modern, most up to date HVAC.
mm-hmm,
But then there's a technology that we can connect to your HVAC called SunTrack, and
mm-hmm.
it is a panel like a solar panel, except it doesn't generate electricity; it generates heat. So, and
Oh,
that heat is then used to power the compressor of an air conditioning
ah,
system. And so it's a really good application for consider it like a factory where it's using tons of energy, but it doesn't have really enough roof space in order for us to put enough solar panels on there to compensate.
I
So
see.
these SunTrack panels, you need one of them for every 9 photovoltaic panels you would use.
Mm-hmm,
And it's for something like a factory or a commercial building, about 50% of their energy cost is heating and cooling, and we knock that right out with SunTrack.
mm,
So it's complicated to explain to a layperson, and I'm definitely not an HVAC professional, but um, yeah, it essentially replaces the electricity needed to run that system. And then in terms
mm-hmm,
of heat, it just straight up creates heat, which can then be used to
mm-hmm.
heat a building. Um, we also offer like spray foam cork, which can be used to fill the inside of a wall and
Mm-hmm.
create better insulation. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, LED lighting, which is not only really efficient but also really easy to install, and you
Mm-hmm.
can do nifty things like control all your lights from your phone or your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, if you have 6 canisters in your kitchen and you just want to turn on one of them, you can do that. Um, um, and we have a relationship with Samsung. They have a line of smart appliances,
Mhm.
and if you do get solar installed, you can actually monitor the performance of your panels and your battery through the refrigerator, which
Wow.
then makes the refrigerator and all the appliances you buy with it eligible for the tax credit. Um,
Mm.
and then we do some things for developers that they may not be a great fit for necessarily a homeowner, um,
Mhm.
but a closed loop septic that's solar
Mm.
powered. It has no tie-in to any city utilities or city drainage, and the water is cleaned and recycled for use in irrigation and gardens. So it's much cheaper to install than typical septic. The installation time is much quicker. Permitting
Mm.
is easier. Um, so on the horizon for us, it's something we're just starting to do, working directly with home builders and
Mhm.
real estate developers I mean, the amount of home building still going on is crazy,
Yes.
and I suppose it's necessary. But
Mhm.
it would be nice to see a world where more of these homes that are going up are net positive as soon as someone gets the
Mhm.
keys.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and for developers, it can be a huge cost savings because they can actually take advantage of the tax credits.
Right.
Um, the HVAC that we have to offer practically pays for itself with the
Right.
tax credits. You're basically cash positive on it in a year or so.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I don't have a list in front of me, but I think that those are the big ones.
Okay.
Um,
So I
yeah,
have I have a couple of questions. So
yeah,
the septic you mentioned, you can install that even where there's city sewage system intact. You can do that separately.
yeah. I mean,
Install
you
that
have, yeah. I
separately.
mean, I can't speak like municipality to municipality what the code is going to
Right.
be.
Right.
You will have to get permitting for it.
I see.
But it's like in with raw land that has no
Mhm.
utility hookups yet.
Right. Right.
The space is there already, and that's the other thing. It uses less space, so it gives a builder more developable land.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's like they can fit a whole nother house on there. That's paying for it right away.
Right, right.
Yeah.
This is kind of exciting, though. I mean, it's the what you are offering has many applications, not just the homeowners per se and developers. How about when developers or investors come and flip, quote unquote, flip properties? Would
Yeah,
your service be applicable?
it would if making their margin as large as possible wasn't the highest
Mm-hmm.
priority. So,
I see.
yeah, I mean, for someone who's executing on a flip, and you've worked on some flips before, so it's about your holding costs, like how long are you in the
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
um, how quickly can you get it sellable for
Mm-hmm.
the number you were hoping to get it sold for.
Right.
Um, I could see a time maybe 5 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
where your average home shopper
Mm-hmm.
prioritizes these things.
Right.
Um, but you can show them a home with solar panels and say, this is how
Mm-hmm.
much this is, these were installed 5 years ago. For the next
Mm-hmm.
25 years, they're going to be generating electricity for you. They're already paid.
Mm-hmm.
So you have real cash value there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, you might be able to sell a home for a little bit more with solar
Mm-hmm.
panels on it, but
Mm-hmm.
how much more can you sell the home for if they're smart appliances? I mean, maybe a little bit more,
Right.
but probably not much more than
Right.
what you had to pay to install them. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I mean, do you need sometimes to update the HVAC in a flip? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it would apply there for sure.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so, but yeah, I mean, for the people I know that flip houses, it's probably the last thing on their mind, right?
I see. I see. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It really makes sense. So yeah, and so when you have those solar panels on the roof, what happens though when, like I think typically they last for like 20, 30 years?
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
happens
They're,
to the panels? Like, is that become a waste issue? Do you know?
yeah. Yeah. Good question. So, um, most tier one panels now are rated for 30 years of use.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they will still be creating energy year 30. Their
Mm-hmm.
efficiency is going to start to wane. But it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you couldn't leave it on for another 5 years and still squeeze some juice out of it.
Right.
Um, what typically happens now with these panels is they are decommissioned and
Mm-hmm.
then sent to places where there's no grid. Um,
Mm.
and so like somewhere in the middle of the desert in Africa where they need energy but can't get
Mm.
any and don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be filling up generators constantly, they can
Mm-hmm.
build a small solar array
Mm-hmm.
from these older panels and
Mm-hmm.
get everything they need.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Looking back, um, 30 years ago, when you installed one of these systems, and I know firsthand because I spent some time a couple weeks ago decommissioning a system that was installed in the 1990s, and
Wow.
it was panels. You pull up the panels, and then underneath the panels was a huge rectangle of um, thick, dense
Oh,
styrofoam,
wow.
and lots of cinder blocks for ballast, rubber sheeting. I mean, all that, like most of that stuff is really hard to recycle. Um,
Yeah.
so now when we install a system, the racking is so simple, and it's
Mm-hmm.
literally it's like a foot that
Mm-hmm.
is attached to the roof with adhesive. There's none of that
Mm-hmm.
styrofoam. There's none of that cinder block. Um, and so we've cut the amount of waste needed to
Right.
install these systems by, I'd say, about 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, like a solar panel itself it's a complex set of layers, not easy to recycle. You
Mm-hmm.
could recycle any of the precious metals in there and the copper that could be reused.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the systems, no one has a crystal ball, but I think looking ahead, the systems being installed today,
Yeah.
30 years from now, we will have made some innovations with how to
Totally.
actually, safely dispose of those things and what to do with
Right.
that's most useful.
Yeah, with the speed of advancement in technology these days,
Yeah.
I mean, in 5 years things could be quite different, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the concerns that I have about smart technology in terms of like home appliances. Um, you know, we would like to like for instance, refrigerator, if we put it in the kitchen, I would expect to keep that for, I don't know, 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
hopefully, right? But if
Yeah.
you have those kind of technology installed, I'm afraid that it's just going to be outdated like in 3 years. You know what I mean?
It's a valid concern considering.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so this TV behind me I bought 7 years ago, and everybody's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Why don't you get a new TV?" I'm like, "I don't know, it's fine, it works. Like, why do I need a new one?" But people are pretty obsessed with like getting the next one to
Yeah,
come
the
out.
smart TV. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these smart TVs, like a year or two after you get them, all the apps stop working very well.
Right.
Um, so invest in like a Fire Stick or an Apple TV, and you won't have that problem, and your TV will last you really, really long. Um, but yeah, I mean, the other thing is people get a new fridge for their
Mm-hmm.
kitchen, and then they
Mm-hmm.
take the one they had in the kitchen and they put it in the garage to,
Garage,
like,
yeah,
I don't know, like store beer in or something.
exactly.
That's not really that's kind of losing the
No,
plot.
right, because the garage is typically not insulated, and
Yeah,
the refrigerator, older
yeah,
refrigerator that's less efficient would be
yeah,
running harder and
yeah,
running up the electric bill.
totally. Yeah, yeah, and I don't know, maybe just go shopping more often. You don't know, doesn't have to be Costco.
Yeah, so tell me, what is the vision or real a vision, or maybe how you see this whole industry evolving in the next years, coming years, as
Um,
Realty Energy Partners or with DeCicco?
yeah.
What is your vision?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of directions I could take that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll start with what it is that I dream of doing, and we can talk about how maybe Realty Energy Partners and technological advancement kind of fit into
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, we discussions about energy efficiency and net positive, and locking in your energy cost by installing solar power, they're pretty privileged conversations, and
Right.
they come from a place of abundance, and having the means to do these things. It's not free. um and I mean, if you're just getting solar, you could finance it. It'll probably pencil out pretty well, not as well
Mm-hmm.
as it would have, say, a year and a half ago when
Mm-hmm.
interest rates were much lower.
Mm-hmm.
But it still can work. But I want to deliver energy efficiency and the promise of being part of a clean energy future to bigger groups of people that don't necessarily have access, and make it a much more equitable thing. And I think the way that gets done is by treating large multifamily buildings, and it can be truly holistic when we approach it that way, because the more little things we can change about that building, the better it becomes. And we can also approach it from a quality of life standpoint. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
just have to be about
Mm-hmm.
um, you know cost savings. It can also be about how this building is a nurturing place. It's a place to be
Right.
lived in and enjoyed. I dream of making a building like that here in LA, and not a brand new building. There are plenty of buildings that we can work with that we already have, um, and make it a net positive building where people love to live, and make it affordable. And I
Yeah.
think it's all going to be possible, because the technology is getting better. It's getting more affordable, more accessible. Um, our federal government is working really hard to make it easier for people to get their hands on it. Um, and yeah, so that's where I see my career heading in this
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, Realty Energy Partners, I think, is very much going to be a part of those kinds of projects.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that those are pretty big projects to bite off.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to not be everything to everyone just yet,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to make the impact we know we can make effectively without stretching ourselves too much and spreading ourselves too thin.
Right.
Because it would be bad if we grew too fast and started dropping the ball, and the wheels are falling off and customers are not happy. Yeah. So um
Uh-huh.
yeah, I mean, we're working to slowly bring the right realtors into our world, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone in our real estate group, they don't just see it as uh, a monetary goal. It means so much more to them than that. Yes, they want to put food on the table and they want to thrive, but they also want to really do as much good as possible.
That's
Um,
right.
so being that selective in who we bring on board, it's going to help us grow in a healthy way, in a sustainable way, if you will.
I understand that you guys can design any system, including solar, uh, window replacement, correct?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
you can address the insulation issues. You can replace different appliances, water heater,
Yeah.
HVAC, and kitchen appliances, washer dryer. All of that can be customized, customized design and install, correct? And do
Yeah,
you
that's
always,
correct.
yeah, and do you also offer assistance in, if you take an older home that may need all these things replaced, it's likely that that like the bathrooms or kitchen may be outdated and needs upgrade, would you
Yeah.
be able to offer assistance with that process as well?
Yeah. We offer private financing, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of different options there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the ideal scenario for anyone though is really wrapping it into their mortgage if they can.
Mm-hmm.
And a renovation loan would fit
Mm-hmm.
the bill for all
Right.
of these.
Right.
We have a national uh, banking partner, Bank of
Mm-hmm.
England.
Mm-hmm.
They operate in all 50 states,
Yeah.
and they can actually help with the process of figuring out a renovation loan. Now,
I see.
interest rates are up right now,
Right.
so not a lot of people are going to want to refi.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be something that creates some hiccups for us in the next few
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
Getting these projects funded, but we're determined
Right.
to offer anything anything that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to add new financing options every day,
Right. I
just so
see.
people have options. If people,
Mm-hmm.
we can do scenarios where there's no down payment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, and if it's just for solar,
Mm-hmm.
your monthly payment will probably be a little bit more than what you're paying the electric company every month right now because of where
Mm-hmm.
interest
Mm-hmm.
rates are. A year and a
Right.
half ago, if you'd asked me, it would probably have been less than your monthly payment.
Sure.
But that said, you're locking in that cost for 30 years or however
Mm-hmm.
long the loan is. You could do it
Mm-hmm.
for 10 or 20, 25.
Right. Right.
Um, so everyone else's energy costs are going up and yours is staying
Mm-hmm.
the same. Just like when you buy a house and everyone else is renting, their rent goes up. And 10 years from
Right.
now, you're sitting pretty because you're paying way less than they
Mm-hmm.
are, even if you were paying a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more than they were when you first moved in.
Right.
And
Right.
of course, interest rates are going to come down. They always do.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not have the best payment right now, but you can refi
Mm-hmm.
again in 5
Mm-hmm.
years if this is something you really want to do now. We
Right.
have ways to help you figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, you and I can do a lot in Southern California as well, but this can be applicable to all over the country. And do you do Canada as well, or is it just the US?
We do not operate in Canada. We don't have anyone in the company
I
that
see.
lives
Mm-hmm.
there, and there's a lot of
I see.
complexities to that.
I see.
It would be biting off more than we could chew at this stage.
I see. I see.
We do operate in northern Mexico,
Mm.
as well as Puerto Rico, like any U.S. territories.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
yeah.
Great.
So
Okay.
if you're on Guam and you need some solar panels, just give us a call. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, so tell us where people can find you guys.
Yeah, so we're on realtyenergypartners.com. That is our main website.
Mm-hmm.
And from there's links to our Instagram, our Facebook, our LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, we don't have a Twitter, and I think I'm just gonna keep it that way. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and if you have any interest in this stuff at all, either as an agent or as a homeowner, just go to realtyenergypartners.com. There's a contact form right at the top of the page, and just shoot us a message, and we'll get right back to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Rich. I am excited to be partnering with Realty Energy Partners and looking forward to doing some good for a city, for a country, and for a planet.
Yes, and it's great to be partnered with you, Izumi, and thank you so much for having me on.